Tara Henry's joining us, the GM of Softball America and the head coach of the Great Britain women's softball team. Tara, good morning.
Good morning, David. How are you? I'm ready to talk some softball.
Well, you know what? It's funny. So today our show has been a little bit of two worlds. Softball, great news. Baseball, not so great. So we're happy to be happy again, talking about the number one team in the country with the number one overall seed. How do they do it?
Oh, my goodness. I can't say enough about head coach Trisha Ford and what the Aggies have done this season. They had the resume, and we had them slotted. We have two bracketologists at Softball America, and Gray Robertson and Brady Vernon, and one had them at number one, and the other one had Oklahoma at number one. So it was a tight race, but the Aggies, with the amount of top 10 wins, top 25 wins, their strength of schedule, their RPI, everything, just a complete resume for the Aggies, and an exciting time to be a part of that program, hosting the number one seed and a fairly easy regional, to say the least. Well,
for them to win it all, they're going to have to go against Oklahoma at some point, right? We know the Eva Empire that they are and how good they are. But it was kind of disappointing, even though I was happy, bittersweet, right? I was happy that they get a share of the SEC championship. I guess there was no scenarios where they could have just kept on pushing back that game.
I was actually there in Athens, and it was raining all morning, all afternoon. It was going to be really tough to get that game in. I think the only possible way they could have done it is to potentially play on Sunday morning, which I don't think that was an option, or to play a doubleheader on Friday. But I think we were all chomping at the bit to see the Sooners take on the Aggies. It would have been an epic matchup, but hopefully we'll see that here in the Women's College World Series. But it would have been a precursor to probably what we're going to see in the next couple of weeks here.
Tara, I said at the top of the show, and I think you can describe it better than I can, that this team in particular, and I know a lot of great teams do this, take on the personality of their head coach. So kind of help us understand what that means when it comes to Trisha Ford, the way she runs this A&M softball team.
She runs a tight ship, but they love her. And I think there's a lot of structure in practice. Winning is fun, and that comes through hard work. So a lot of hard work, kind of blue collar mentality, and they just grind it out. You've got key transfers in Mac Barbara. You've obviously got the bat of Maya Perez that has come about as of late, Coco Woolley's leadership. And then I can't say enough about the freshman, KK Dement. And of course, lefty Emily Kennedy in the circle. Just a lot of pieces to a puzzle that gives you enough to make a run at a title. And I think they've taken on Trisha Ford's personality. They've got a lot of swag, they got a lot of confidence, but that comes from putting in the work. And I think when you put the work in through day out, Monday through Friday, then game day's easy and it's fun and it's free. And you saw them jump out to a massive lead against a Texas team that was ranked 1 in the country at one point this season. So just a gritty team, a team that fights, and you can never count out the Aggies.
Talk about that dismantling of Texas too, because 14-2, they got up on them super early. It was like, we are here. It was really, both games at the SEC tournament.
It was a statement. It was a flat out statement, and they didn't stop. And, I asked Coach Ford why Emily threw 2 days in a row and why she stayed in the game, even up by run rule in run rule territory. And she said, listen, Tara, we're going to need this heading into regionals and super regionals. Emily's going to have to go back to back. So she did that on purpose by design. And it didn't matter if they had scored 13, 14 runs. Emily Kennedy was still going to get her work in. She was still going to throw her bullpen to prepare them for this week, the following week, and potentially the Women's College World Series.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I remember early on when we spoke a few weeks back, or maybe it was a month ago, talking about how the workload for Emily was a little bit lighter this season heading to the postseason, and that allows her to be as fresh as she can and get this extra work.
Absolutely. So we're at a point in the season where that's key, and I think that's why she did throw back-to-back days. It would have been interesting to see what would have happened in that title game against the Sooners. I think we would have potentially seen a bullpen game. We don't know, but obviously we will never know that. But again, preparing Emily Kennedy to throw back-to-back days. And we'll see that potentially here in regionals. I'm not quite sure, depending on those matchups. They do have a tough Liberty squad. Dot Richardson will be bringing Liberty into College Station. But again, it is to prepare for the end. And I think that's what the Aggies have done week in and week out, and proven that they can win series, best of 3 series.
Tara, another thing, too, is early on they weren't hitting the long ball. But, I mean, this weekend shows that they can hit the long ball. They can beat you multiple ways. What is impressive about how they kind of self-diagnose what needs to happen in a particular matchup?
I think what's most impressive to me about the Aggies is the diversity. They can hit the long ball, but there's also speed mixed in there. So they're not just doing it one way. They're not relying heavily on the long ball. They do have it and they can hit it and they will hit it. But they also have speed and they also can shoot the gaps and really get moving on the bases. So it's constant pressure 1 through 9, and it's not the same pressure. So I think that's what makes the Aggies so effective. It's a lineup that you can't really breathe when you're facing it because, again, you're either going to have to face a ton of power. And you saw that laser that Maya Perez hit against Texas. It just can hit to all fields, and that's what's so impressive about the offense is that they can do so many things and make adjustments not only throughout the game but in at bats.
If this team does make it to Oklahoma City, how important is it that they're so good on the road in neutral site games, 20-3?
It's huge. I think that's a lot of it. A lot of teams can play well at home when they're sleeping in their own beds and have their same routine, but the Aggies have proven that they can do it on the road, and that's something that's going to be really key. They'll get to sleep at home, hopefully, for regionals and supers, but then heading to Oklahoma City, that'll be a next test and matchup. But again, they've just won so many different ways, and they run not only at home, but on the road at neutral sites. And that's, again, a very versatile team, a very durable team, and a team that is super gritty and just flat out gets it done.
Tara, is there a team that got a more difficult draw than expected?
LSU. Mm-hmm. The Tigers have a really, really tough road. They've got Nebraska and Jordy Ball in their regional, and then we'll have to face potentially Tennessee and Carlin Pickens to make it to the Women's College World Series. To be honest, that is a really tough route for the Tigers and something that softball fans should keep an eye on.
How many SEC teams do you think make it to Oklahoma City?
Ooh, that's a great question. You got 7 of 8 are hosting supers. So we've got a pretty good shot at potentially having 6 or more. 7
maybe.
We'll see.
Yeah.
It just depends. UCLA matches up with South Carolina. We'll for sure have Tennessee or LSU. That'll be an SEC team if the seeds hold again. We'll see. Maybe 6. I'll go with 6.
6. Tara, we appreciate it. Let's talk to you next week.
All right. Thanks, guys.